I'm back. Yes, there is a part 2 to this. Because as much as it's, glorious, in the last video I talked about, yes, there was a sense of freedom. Yes, there was. There was a lot of potential. There was a lot of, that sense of she's no longer suffering and I no longer am taking care of her. Let me also kind of talk about the other side of that. I did choose to move forward, but yes, I did stick to the 1-year plan, the idea that you should make no major decisions. So the next year after that day that I talked about in the last video, it was about dealing with, the arrangements, the logistics, because and being there for friends and family, because let's be honest, we all know how this goes. The loss is one thing. The time after, it's not cut and dry. It's not fast. In my case, we got backed up by, the pandemic breaking out, or kind of pre-pandemic. But the hospital, the government was months behind. It took me, November, December, February, it took me 4 months to get the official death certificate, which means that dealing with the banks and all of that took longer. It took 4 months to get a death certificate. It's a long time. And in my case, there was no probate. But yes, there's probate. There's all of these there's filing taxes. There's all of these things that have to be done. So the next year was that. Being there for friends and family, helping them through it. And yes, taking my own time to kind of adjust and build a stable foundation. I went back to work. And was I more outspoken? Yeah, I was more outspoken. And that's okay. A year after, I left that job and decided to break out on my own, because as much as I loved the company, it was getting, there were changes in the company that I didn't agree with, and they didn't agree with me kind of keeping the old ways, and that's fine. Differences are differences. Bygones are bygones. It's fine. But I had to build this new foundation, and I had to figure out some really important questions, like, who was I now? What do I stand for? What is it that makes me who I am? And if I want a certain life, what steps do I have to take? Who do I have to become? And not in an inauthentic way. How do I authentically, what is me authentically? And how can I be the better version of myself to become what I want? And I did a lot of thinking about Steve Jobs when he went to Nike and said, you got to get rid of all of you got to strip it down to do what you do best. Don't worry about the extras and don't try to be everything to everyone. Do what you do best. And I wanted to get down to the core of who I am and what I do best and what really makes me me. And I mentioned last time Mark Manson and Simon Sinek and Esther Perel, and I'm all about leadership and relationships. And it's funny because the more I got into the dating scene, because I started looking in 2020, and the more I started looking at the dating scene and going through the procedures and going through the sites and learning what I did and finding the incredible relationship that I have now with the most wonderful woman. You know who you are. Through all of that, I found so many parallels to things that we already know, like business and marketing, but how the language of economics made it into our relationships, which is kind of strange, and how relationships have changed. And anyway, all of that to figure out what kind of presence, because Jane Goodall's quote, the things you do matter, the things you do make a difference in the world. The difference is you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. I'm paraphrasing that, but it's along those lines. What you do matters. Who you are matters. Who you are at your core, authentically, matters. And if you're not sure about that, if you're struggling with that, if you want to kind of explore that or talk to somebody, hi, my name is Richard Struther and I am the Widower's Wingman. You can find me at thewidowerswingman.com, and there you can book a free call with me. It's not a sales call. It says 45 minutes. I'm not worried about the time. I want to get to know you, where you're at, and what you need. Get you to the right resources. And if that's me, all the better. But definitely want to make sure that you're in a good place, or that you're in the right place to get into a better place, if that makes any sense. If you look at the media section, there are a ton of podcasts I've been on. You can see me talking about all of this kind of stuff and kind of see my approach and see where I'm coming from. And if you like it, great. You can watch the other videos. If that's kind of more where you're at, A1, that's fine. Aside from that, like and subscribe if you want. But more importantly, if this is somebody you know, if you know somebody who would benefit from this, if you thought this was worth sharing, please do share it. It's only useful if it gets into the hands of the people who need to see it. I will see you guys in the next video if I don't get the pleasure of meeting you first.